A while ago I had talked about my garden and I had mentioned that I was going to clear it, and the reason why I actually chose this particular time is because it's Agapanthus season in Kenya. As we go through October, November, December and bits of January, the Agapanthus will be everywhere. So what I did is I took all my tilanthias out and everything I had on the flower bed, and I've lined it all with Agapanthus and iris, giant irises. And soon, by next month, when everything decides to pop, I will have Agapanthus, blue colors, white colors everywhere. This is my dwarf Agapanthus, and as I mentioned, it is the season. Look at all these little lovely buds, they're coming up, and I am so excited. Now, we go into our Agapanthus season at this time of the year, but in the northern hemisphere is that you're going into fall. So basically you need to learn how to store your Agapanthus so that next year you get beautiful blooms, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you. So my name is Alice and I'm the red soil gardener. The beauty about Agapanthus, and we've done this series before where I was showing propagation, but these lovely little flowers, or when they do get big and they flower, is that they actually are very drought resistant. And the thing about storing them, especially in the northern hemisphere where you get your fall and your frost and freezing temperatures, is that once you know how to store it, you're half the way to getting new blooms next year. Now, the thing about the Agapanthus is that they are moderately frost tolerant, and in some parts, depending on which part of the northern hemisphere you're at, for as long as the ground doesn't get frozen, is your Agapanthus can actually survive in moderate frost temperatures. Now, the thing about Agapanthus is that there are two types of Agapanthus. Now, the one I have here, well, this is quite a small one because, as I mentioned earlier, is that we've replanted all the Agapanthus, and this is one of the babies from it. But these are evergreens, so you always recognize the evergreen. It's a bit more fleshier than the deciduous Agapanthus, and I haven't come across the deciduous Agapanthus in Kenya, and I'm sure we do have it. But the difference between the two, because the storage for winter is quite different for both of them, but the difference between the two is that when winter does come, the deciduous the leaves of the deciduous starts to die away, whereas the evergreen can stay green and fleshy right through the winter. Now, if you are planting these in your garden, and now we're going into fall and just before you're getting your frost, you may notice again the deciduous starts going yellow, the leaves, and slowly sort of crumbles into a patch. Whereas for these evergreens, they do continue looking like this. Now, the thing is that with a deciduous plant, even though the leaves have gone yellow and it does look as if it's dying, all you have to do is actually protect that rhizome. And the way to protect it is you either take mulch and put at least 3 inches of mulch on top of the plant, or else you can get leaves, dead leaves, and cover it and then put a polythene bag on top of it so that you can preserve that heat, because you don't want it to be in a situation that the frost hits the rhizome and then you lose the plant. Another way to do it, give me a minute, is just get some hay. And all you have to do is take your hay and cover it. If the Agapanthus is here below, just make sure it's all nice and compact on top of the Agapanthus. And if worse comes to worse, you could actually, cover it and protect it. So in case it rains, you don't get all that stuff going into the crown, all the water going into the crown, and just protect it like this. And by the time the spring comes, make sure you once again remove everything and remove the hay, because at this point is your plant is actually rising and will start budding again, and you got your next Agapanthus for the next season. For most people, especially in the northern hemisphere, is when they do want to keep their Agapanthus and not have it outside for the frost and all those harsh temperatures, they actually do grow it in containers. This is from my garden as we were landscaping, but I just thought I could use it as an example to show you what you can do. One of the ideas what you can do when you want to store your Agapanthus. Now let's assume that this is an Agapanthus that you have in a container on your patio, and suddenly the fall is here and the frost is coming. What most people do is that you take your Agapanthus and bring it into the home, and that's why container planting is actually really useful for Agapanthus, because then it's a simple process. Bring it in the house and you can look after it. Give it very little water so it doesn't get too dry. Now the other method that I'd like to show you is you take your rhizomes and your Agapanthus and you give it a really, really good wash and make sure all the sand is out. Leave it 2 days in the sun so it dries out, because what we're going to do is exactly what we've done before, even with the canna lily, is we're going to store it and keep it moisture free. So what I have here is again my carton, and sometimes brown paper bags are really great because they do absorb a lot of moisture. But on the other hand, the best is newspapers, because they do actually work very well, because they will also assist in keeping it moisture free. So what I'm going to do here is, here's my container, my rhizomes, I better get this one, is I'm going to look at it and I'm going to just get rid of the tops here and look for the nice bits. Now, once you've washed your rhizome, dried it for 2 days, and then you've removed all the bad bits, which are either injured or something like that, is what you do is you take them and just lay it in a carton. Again, cartons are really great because they do absorb a lot of moisture. And so I'm just going to lay them like this. Once I put my rhizomes in the carton, I'm going to sprinkle a bit of vermiculite, because it's really good for moisture. So here we go. We get a bit of vermiculite, and this is great. Look at that. And what I'm doing now is I'm going to just sprinkle over my rhizomes, and in this way it will keep it dry, and we don't want any moisture in there because you can get rot. And once you've covered it, then you put more newspaper on top, and you can actually work with layers if you have a lot of rhizomes. So basically you have your Agapanthus in here, you have your vermiculite, you have your newspaper. You could also use straw and stuff it with straw, because this will keep it warm. So all you do is, once you've filled your box, you can cover it with straw and even have layers. And then when you're done, all you do is you take it to your basement or somewhere for storage. The optimum temperature for Agapanthus during winter storage is 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's how you will store it, in your basement or wherever you can, in cupboards. And in a situation that your Agapanthus are outside, and I do understand, you know, we do have a really strong attachment to Agapanthus, and people have been asking, what do I do? Do I pull it out, you know, pull it from the ground, or store it. And sometimes you want it to continue to stay outside. But the thing is that if you do have a container for your Agapanthus, let's say a nice potted plant, is that you need to shield this plant against the wind, because sometimes the winds are really cold and it could damage the leaves. So what you could do is actually cover it with like a windbreaker, cover it with a polythene bag, or you could use any sort of polythene, black polythene, green polythene. It's not, we're not looking at the artistic bit, but it's all you want to do is shield it from the wind. So basically what you do is you get your polythene bag and you take it, oops, and cover it like this. And then the other thing, what you do, because with the wind, sometimes you do get strong winds, try to support the polythene so that it doesn't tip over. Just get some sticks or whatever and hold it like this so it doesn't tilt over. So basically what you're trying to do is I'm sure you'll find a much easier way of doing it than what I'm doing, but all you're trying to do is protect it from the wind, and because you don't want your Agapanthus to suffer. So here you are, you've got this sort of thing happening. You're protecting your Agapanthus from the wind. As the temperature now starts really beginning to fall and you need to again insulate your little Agapanthus, another suggestion again is get your hay and take it and stuff it inside this container. This should help to insulate your Agapanthus, so at least it retains a lot of the warmth, and just keep it like that. So that's how you look after your Agapanthus. So you could either do it exactly, wash them out, get your rhizome, and then what you do with it is you store it with vermiculite newspaper or with hay, because the hay will insulate it. The other way is for your outside plants. You could, on the ones on the ground, you could build structures like this with a polythene bag, and then you store it with your hay inside. And just remember to take it out in springtime. But this is a really easy way of doing it. And in that way, by the time spring comes, your Agapanthus pops up and says, I'm ready to bloom. And that's your reward for all the hard work. So fellow gardeners, thank you so much for joining me on this episode. Don't forget to like, to share, and press that notification button. And also don't forget to subscribe and let everyone else, tell them about the channel. I always find it so exciting to be able to talk about plants, and I love it when you do write to us. I always try to respond, and thank you for all the encouragement that you've been giving us on this channel. And have a lovely, lovely day, and look after your Agapanthus. Bye.